The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed, and this episode is one of our deep dives. This episode 317, we are going to deep dive into Volume 2 of the 2D micro-series Clone Wars. The Clone Wars with the most ways to describe it in the title, apparently. But we're excited to dive in. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
I'm Ken Napzok. It is definitely a lot of colons, semicolons, ellipses. Throw it all in there. This wonderful series.
And I even forgot Vintage, which is the
Right.
new way that it is being described in its place on Disney+. But like I said, we discussed Vintage 2D microseries Clone Wars Volume 1 last week and had a ton of fun revisiting it and discussing it. So we're now excited to dive into Volume 2. But first, we want to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. This week, we are recommending Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. The High Republic has kicked off, and a lot of fans are really enjoying it, and this is really the kickoff. So if you want to check out the High Republic, you can listen to it here. You can download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that is audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. And Ken, we have another offer, right?
We do have another offer. Inside Editions, publisher of a ton of great Star Wars books, and that ain't no lie, is offering 35% off across their website with a special ForceCenter code. To get your discount, enter the coupon code FC35 or visit the website with this link, insideeditions.com/discount/FC35. This week, we're recommending the new book coming out soon, the Inside Editions book, Star Wars Galactic Baking. We've been talking about it for a while. Joseph and I have advanced copies, and it's not only, it will help you make your kitchen just feel better with Star Wars treats bursting out of it, but it just looks good. It's just a good coffee table book, and we recommend that indeed. That's coming out on May 4th. Check it out with that code FC35.
That is right. And a bunch of other great books for Inside Editions. So if you do not want to do Galactic Baking or look at those beautiful pictures, just go check out the website and just do a little bit of shopping. Because I was looking through some of the books that they sent us a while back, Ken, and just I lost like a good hour just flipping. It wasn't the like I intended to read. I was just standing in the middle of my living room flipping through books.
Look, I absolutely am with you on that. That lightsaber book is just, you put that on your coffee table, and you just immediately feel like you're a dignified Star Wars fan.
I literally just I stopped what I was doing the other day because there's like I want to look at Tara Sanube's lightsaber cane,
Right.
and I did, and it was great.
Perfect.
All right, let's dive into this. Like I said, last week we discussed Volume 1 of the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars. These were recently added on Disney+. If you're not aware, they added this great vintage collection. So I think a fun way to say things that are not currently canon without getting too obsessive about what canon means. The Ewok animated series, the Ewok movies, the original cartoon from the holiday special that introduced Boba Fett, and of course, Clone Wars, this great series. So there were 3 seasons. The first 2 seasons were compiled into the first volume. That was then put on DVD, and then Disney Plus just put the DVD versions on the service. This week, we are discussing what was Season 3, which is now Volume 2 on Disney Plus. And Season 3, or Volume 2, however you want to think about it, is 5 12-minute episodes all edited together. And they were originally released back in the day on Cartoon Network and on the old internet, March 21st, 2005 through March 25th, 2005 as well. So just burned straight through them in 1 week. March 25th, 2005, like I said last week, that's my wife's birthday, the last birthday she had before we started dating. But that's a different story. She likes it sounded like it was the last one she could treasure. She enjoys her birthdays. All these years we've been together. I try to be a good partner. Anyway, let's get back to Star Wars. Ken, we talked about this last week, but I want to talk about it for this Season 3. Did you watch this season, these episodes back in the day, and what was your reaction then?
So, yes, and this is the next two questions you've got set for this section. I wish I had a journal from this year because I don't keep journals, but there was a point where, like, as a writer, like get up and write a page, and I did a lot of that in the early 2000s. I wish I had something that tracked this. I did watch these. To the best of my knowledge, Your Honor, as honest as I can be, I did not see these before going into Revenge of the Sith. Um, Same with reading the book Labyrinth of Evil, everything that it all came after. So I did remember watching these, but I had a different view on them.
Okay, because you were watching them in retrospect of setting up the
Yeah.
movie that you had already seen.
Yeah, and I had watched the previous ones, but as we talked about in volume 1, it's a little, even though, like you said, they were aired on this date. We had one, no, 2005. So I was in the house. So I did have a TV in my bedroom. We had one TV in the living room between 3 or 4 roommates. And it was like, if it wasn't appointment television for all of us, you didn't watch it. And then you could go find it online, of course, but I don't got time to download that. Come on. So yeah, my experience was a little different.
Yeah, yeah. This is great because I'm kind of in the same boat. I know I watched them back in the day because I have some really visceral memories
Mhm.
of specific parts.
Same.
In particular, the Ithorian Jedi, Roran
Mhm.
Korob, absolutely blew my mind. The scream is
Yeah.
stuck in my memory. The vision of Anakin's vision where he sees a bit of Vader. Those things are really burned in my memory. So I know I saw them, but I certainly didn't watch them just as they were broadcast because I didn't have cable then. And at this
Mhm.
point in my life, I would have had, oh, let's see if I can figure this out. Yeah, I had two different part-time day jobs.
Mm.
I was doing children's theater an hour drive away from Minneapolis, and then I was in a different theater show, like kind of a full production that I wasn't producing, and I had a monthly late night show, and I
Mhm.
believe I was writing two different shows at the time, and I was trying to ask Sarah out right around this time. So I had a lot going on in my life this time, right at this
Yeah.
time. Uh, so I think that I probably tracked him down on the internet before
Mm.
Revenge of the Sith because I have a specific memory of the really big build up for Grievous. Obviously, it was there at the end of Volume One, seeing him,
Right.
attack all those Jedi, Shaggy and Kayati
Yeah.
Mundi. But that big buildup that's in this season
Yeah.
of kidnapping Palpatine. I want to think that I saw that before, but that was really affected when I was watching it this time with just like the sheer volume of new designs
Mhm.
that from Revenge of the Sith that you got to see in this before the movie came out. That I don't
Mm.
remember being as affected by that. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
exactly when I saw these, but I know it was back in the day.
Yeah, look, and all of this kind of speaks to me about seeking out stories following those, the so-called horrible prequels I hated. I came out of them going, "Give me more."
Exactly.
I couldn't admit it.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I had really enjoyed that first season, or the first 2 seasons at that point, and had been, collecting action figures. It was just really in a very busy and a very different place in life. So I can't remember exactly when I watched these, but I remembered enjoying the hell out of them. So, what was the impact then for you when you did see them and you had already seen Revenge of the Sith? Was it just really that like, yeah, I've got some issues with these films, but here I am still, like you just said, hunting out Star Wars and enjoying it.
Yeah, and the answer bleeds from not just this series, but into the book Labyrinth of Evil, which is part of that Dark Lord trilogy book, and so it's kind of a mishmash of the answers. Bear with me on that,
Yeah,
but
go for it.
there's two things. It was the simple knowledge of knowing Grievous was injured at the hands of Mace that worked for me and helped me. And so and this is why I try to say this, pointing a little bad fingers back at myself. This is why I understand the desire to quote get answers or explanations, and how that can sometimes be confused for themes, lessons, and just plot. And sometimes it's these little like, somehow Palpatine returned, and you can get hung up on that. And I understand that. And that's a big example, I know. But Grievous coughing and me going, I don't know, the big one of the big villains was just this hacking, coughing dude. And I don't like that. And then I remember seeing the series, and then also that part's kind of in Labyrinth of Evil, and kind of being like, oh, okay, no, that makes sense. Mace did it. That's why. And then one of the book, what's the book after Revenge of the Sith in that Dark Lord trilogy? I cannot remember.
Oh yeah, the Vader one.
The Vader one, and when he's there, parts of the book explain him walking around in the suit, and how he's kind of stumbling around like he is.
It's like use the Force, right, to move his limbs because he hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and so that made me that end of Revenge of the Sith that I hated so much. I can't believe you wasted James Earl Jones to say Padme. Like that was me. It was me in 2005, probably angry in my car, and I remember going, oh, okay, that makes sense. He wouldn't know how to walk. Oh, yeah. And so I'm making a little fun of myself, but like that is the impact of this series on Revenge of the Sith for me. It was after the fact, but it was the first time that something I had problems with felt less like a problem when I connected to the bigger picture. And then this answer, it's just canon stuff for, I think, especially with the help of you here and Jennifer and ForceCenter and everyone, it's like, now I seek it out and kind of, I'm interested, like I'm interested to see, it's that tip of the iceberg story stuff that you mentioned, Joseph. It's like, now I get excited. Oh, Grievous is coughing. I wonder why. That's interesting. I want to know that story versus why the hell's he coughing? Give me the answer.
Yeah. I love what you're saying. Looking it up here, Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader.
There it is.
That's the Lucino book along with Labyrinth of Evil and his novelization of Revenge of the Sith. I totally get you. I think that, at ForceCenter, we generally tend towards this idea of, what's it about? What's at stake? What do the characters want? What ideas do those reflect? And that those are the things that we care about the most. But I think it is an undeniable thing that as audience members, we all have just kind of questions or logic sometimes that aren't like fun and mysterious. They're like, it's a distraction,
Yeah.
And for me, like with the somehow Palpatine returned, for me, just me, the film makes it clear some mix of dark magic, dark side clinging to life in an unnatural way, and some horrific mad scientist clone science with bubbling fluids. And like, for me, it's like, great, answered. For other people, it's clearly a legitimate, concern because their mind stops there and they can't get past that question to, enjoy the other parts. And I think, what you're describing for you back in the day with Grievous, I think a lot of people probably got hung up on that of like, I'm supposed to be terrified of him. But it sounds like he's, been shopping at a dusty bookstore and like, just can't stop hacking. Like, just drink some cough medicine, dude. That's, I think, a legitimate way that people experience media too, where it hangs you up and you can't unlock the rest of it unless you have that answer. And that's cool that this series unlocked that. Like, oh, well, now it's a story point, right? Now it's him marching around saying, I'm unstoppable. The Force is nothing because I've got 4 lightsabers and I've been trained. And you're like, yeah, but you got this cough here that's constantly telling you that's a lie.
Yeah. And look, and now I'm more, when I watch Grievous, I'm more afraid for Anakin because I'm like, you don't see what you might become in front of you. You don't see the warning.
Yeah.
But back then it was just, it was more a complete picture of making some sense. And again, not to belabor the point, but we get that here. And it's part of the fun now, but this series, that's what I remember this particular volume more than anything, what it did for me back then.
Yeah. And I think for me, not that I was like so along in my path of accepting the things I didn't like about the prequels and moving on to just celebrating them, but I really loved Revenge of the Sith. And it was a time in my life that I just wanted some Star Wars in my life. I didn't have as much time to absorb it as I did. So I'd been really looking forward to Revenge of the Sith. I really enjoyed it. And I remember thinking, the build up for Grievous in the animated series it really oversold him compared to his threat level in the film, right?
Totally.
Just because we don't get to see him, he puts up a good fight for Kenobi. Kenobi's got to work to take him out, but it builds him up as utterly unstoppable. How could he ever be stopped? And they're like, Kenobi stops him in the film. And I remember thinking, like, a couple of years ago, I probably would have been annoyed by that, but who cares? I liked the animated series and I liked that fight with Kenobi, and I really enjoyed that. Well, Kenobi was clever. That's how he beat him. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
And I remember like thinking, yep, probably a little bit of a disconnect in the buildup, but it didn't bug me back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just I really enjoyed seeing all those, that clear division where Volume 1 of Clone Wars has all this great Attack of the Clones design, and then this one has all this great Revenge of the Sith design, and it's just really great way to really highlight. Oh, cool! The new Jedi Starfighters, the Arc 170s, Anakin's look, new clone armor, Magna Guards, all this stuff. Really, seeing it makes you really celebrate all the great new design in Revenge of the Sith.
Totally.
So let's get into some of those big picture reactions. What was your overall reaction to watching these episodes now? Did you enjoy Volume 2 / Season 3 more? Were you continuing to be affected by your relationship to the 3D canon Clone Wars?
I definitely enjoy these more. Not that I didn't enjoy the first one, but and look, Dirge doesn't show back up, right? So I'm going to enjoy this more. No kidding. There's a lot of Dirge fans out there have written me in the last week. So no, I enjoy these more. It's very interesting to watch them now because some questions emerge for me now that maybe wouldn't have emerged before. But I like them, and it reminded me. I do really love James Luceno as a writer. I think Catalyst is a great Star Wars book. I'd love for him to get another big swing. Most of his work is in Legends, and Plagueis is one of my favorite Star Wars books, whether it counts or not. I still like it. Labyrinth of Evil again was in the Dark Lord one. I remember I really loved those. My reading experience with those in 05 and 06. So I think watching these now, I kind of relive that joy. And it was interesting to go back. I remember I was in that boat too of the first couple seasons of 3D Clone Wars, kind of going, Grievous was better in the original Clone Wars. The original one didn't have that dumb Ahsoka character. Like I said that kind of stuff. I've grown. I'm happy and proud that I've grown, changed, and matured as a Star Wars fan. But it doesn't take away the joy I had for this series then, and some of the stuff I enjoy in it now.
Yeah, and I think the Grievous comparison is really interesting because I think the 3D Clone Wars really does show, I think, a Lucas-inspired desire to show villains as terrifying, but to show them is you shouldn't want to be Grievous. Just like he was thinking, like, hey, turns out people thought Darth Vader's really cool and kind of want to be like him. Like, no.
Yeah.
And you can feel that storytelling with like early storytelling in the 3D Clone Wars being things like, Lair of Grievous, which shows him as an absolute terrifying badass, but explicitly asks the question of like, and at what cost?
Yeah, no, and I'm so there for that now, and so love Grievous in the 3D Clone Wars. And I'll be honest, watch these episodes last night and last week. I watched all of them twice, and yeah, I'm not there for the Grievous stuff as much anymore. It falls flat for me. It just does. I got it. Big, menacing. Dooku teaches him to run away as a strategy, not a flaw in his personality. Like I'm not there for it as much anymore. It's just I can't deny that in myself.
Yeah. For me, it's like I think I do like the general, characterization of him as a tragic figure in the 3D Clone Wars. But I'm also able to just let that go and enjoy this this character version of him that is the absolutely terrifying, unstoppable machine. And we'll talk about that scene with his training with Dooku, which I really loved.
Yeah, same. To be clear.
Yeah. For me, I think I really like. I think I like this chunk of the 2D Clone Wars. I think I like Volume 2 more than Volume 1 is the easy way to say it. I think it's clear like these were longer episodes. They were all tied together, and they're just a little bit more narrative. They're a little bit more introspective. That first volume is meant to be, it tells a story, but a lot of it is just like, here's a quick bite-sized cool adventure that Mace Windu had on Dantooine. The editing of the episodes from the original format is better, and that helps a lot too, because we talked about that last week with Volume 1 is edited really inconsistently.
Right.
In this one, you feels like this is like an hour long, slightly over an hour short film that's really coherent and really connected.
Yeah, no, it really flows nicely. You can see where some of the wipes are for a new episode, but a lot of that, quite frankly, is only because I have the Wikipedia episode list up while I'm watching.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about this, Ken. I thought that there were more moments, whether they were successful for different people or not, but there were much more moments of comedy and whimsy in this volume of Clone Wars than the first one. Did you feel that too?
What are my favorite action moments? We're gonna have a short conversation, though there's a lot. The comedy moments. I at one point I literally said to myself, I don't think out loud, Grace would have questioned me. I said, let's let Joseph list some too. Because I'm gonna write everyone down. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a lot more comedy and whimsy, and I think it's been amazing to really see, like, as much as I do treasure moments of badassery in Star Wars, like, I want that balance of a little bit of the comedy or the whimsy or the weirdness to balance out the badassery.
Right.
The other big picture reaction for me watching this, the season 3, volume 2, is it really felt like it was hitting home a lot of the kind of key ideas and stakes that are absolutely there in the prequel films, but maybe the films didn't have enough room to dive into them. And it was really interesting to see, to watch these episodes again. I hadn't watched these in a long time, and think about some of the things that you and I and Jennifer have discussed in the prequels, or other Star Wars pontificators out there, or hearing Filoni talk about certain things, or Lucas interviews, and just seeing how many of these ideas are like, these are core prequel ideas that this is prequel era ideas that this volume is digging into. Like the fact that it is really starts off basically by mourning the absence of Qui-Gon, really highlighting like the absence of Qui-Gon is important to this story. We get a hint early on of Anakin's anger at the Jedi for keeping him apart from Padme, which is an important idea. A lot of this really is emphasizing both his mechanical arm and his scar as a symbol of constant war, and Star Wars enough that in the prequels you can pick up on those things. They've been emphasized enough in the original trilogy that you pick up on that symbolism, but this was really taking time to set that up, and I think the other thing that this had room to do for me, which is an idea of the prequel era, is seeing the war's impact on the Jedi, seeing Shakti in particular wrestle with fear and failure. I was really affected by the moment where Mace yells attack, the thing that you're never supposed to use the Force for, and really reminding us of like, this is an era where, some things slip for the Jedi, or maybe some of the things that Yoda says in Empire Strikes Back this is when he learned them, So I just really liked seeing that, like, oh, there's some big ideas that are absolutely there in the films.
Yeah.
But this series of stories really took the time to highlight them.
Yeah, I really love where this volume ends, and therefore ends all of this micro series, which is some of the Anakin Obi-Wan stuff and choices, and how many times do we talk about that here on ForceCenter, and to see it very present in the series. And I don't remember that as much. I was clearly focused on Grievous or whatever, and just having some real plain Star Wars themes delivered by Obi-Wan at the end about destiny and choice and all that kind of stuff. It really, any questions that I had about this series, and some I'm about to vocalize, it ended on a beautiful note, and I really love the ending of this series.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And I'll also say, for my overall reaction, just like the first volume, this one's just beautiful. The animation, that style, that idea that of celebrating what animation can do. It is minimal but striking, and so much of it is about movement. And the thing I said out loud to myself, and I think Sarah did hear me, and just said, okay, he's talking to his Star Wars, is like, okay, enough screenshots. Because I was pausing to take so many screenshots, because like, well, that's a poster. That's the one I'm going to use for the social media. Well, oh no, that's the one I'm going to use for social media. And like, I just took so many screenshots because there are just so many beautiful images in this Clone Wars micro series. One thing I wanted to talk about, which I meant to talk about last week, Ken, I'm throwing a curveball at you here, is the voice work, right?
Yeah.
That much of it is the people who would go on to voice the characters in the 3D Clone Wars. You know, we got Tom Kane as Yoda, James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, always. T.C. Carson as Mace Windu, Corey Burton as Dooku. But then we have a lot of different voices. And how much of the different voices, that mix of familiarity with the mix of difference, how much did that affect you?
I got to say, it didn't. I celebrated it. I mean, it was just so there, and it was just interesting. It's interesting to focus on James Arnold Taylor kind of finding the Obi-Wan voice, and I think it even gets better in Volume 2.
Yeah, because it's just like a lighter touch on it.
Yeah, yeah, you can see him kind of going, all right, let's go back in there and figure this out. But yeah, no, I think it was fun in a way, and to see some very familiar names. You know, Kevin Michael Richardson pops up, and he goes to the 3D one as well. Cree Summer. I mean, there's a lot of great names. So yeah, I guess it affected me in a way of just like, well, that's pleasant.
Yeah, no, Nick Jameson as Palpatine, I thought was great. Darren Norris is Ki-Adi-Mundi, great.
Yeah.
And yes, so lots of great voice actors. I think the only thing that affected me, Matt Lucas is Anakin, right? Is definitely just listening to the evolution of the Obi-Wan voice. You know, for me, is a question of like how much of that is direction, because
Totally.
the tone really matched the tone of the other characters' voices as Obi-Wan developed. But the Grievous, it's less about the actual voice, but just the choices. You know, you had the great John DiMaggio. He's an all-timer, right, for voice work. And then in this volume was Richard McGonigal, and the Grievous voices were great.
Yeah.
So it's nothing about the performance, but it's just fascinating, the choice, right? Because it so goes in line with what we were talking about with other things about the character, that the initial choice is big, bad, classic villain voice with, terrifying, haunting, slightly mechanical laugh, right? And then Lucas comes in here, he's like, no, he's got to kind of sound like Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's Dracula with a cough. Who can do that? And there's just something about it where just the choice for who Grievous is just becomes weirder, wilder, more whimsical. And there's something very Star Wars to me about that.
Yeah, that's some insightful stuff there, buddy. Because I really love where they end up, and of course Matthew Wood coming in and doing it. But like, and again, yeah, it's nothing. Obviously, John DiMaggio, Bender, come on, man, he's great. But yeah, there's a lot of Saturday morning cartoon vibe in this volume 1 and 2, which by the way is great. Like, because you're talking about the medium of animation and 2D animation. There's some great stuff. I cannot wait to get to the Jedi Council scene. It feels like a Hall of Avengers meanwhile type of Saturday morning thing.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
And so Grievous kind of falls into that here. I just really like where they ended up kind of taking that character in a different direction, but similar, same path, but different.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's just different and interesting to study them. I think everybody knocks it out of the park. Everybody is clearly just a total pro, and if anything, the voice contrast for me isn't a I like this one better, I like that one better. It's fascinating to see the evolution of the different characters.
Yeah, and that's how creativity works, right? The art you just keep sculpting until you get it right.
Yeah. So let's talk about anything we disliked or questioned, get it out of that way, and then we'll get into all the big ideas and all the things we really enjoyed. So anything in this volume that you disliked or questioned, Ken?
Yeah, look, a lot of times we come to this question when we're reviewing 3D Clone Wars or anything Star Wars, and I just go, I'm good. And I think some people, not everyone, but just, hey, say something negative once. So I'll say that this is a negative. The question we ask ourselves every week is anything you disliked or questioned. And question can be a lot of things. So I'm just going to say this and we'll go from there. You touched upon it a little bit with you talking about Yoda and Mace. I really did not connect with the power of the Jedi in this volume.
Okay.
But which doesn't mean I'm not open to discussing and seeing it and don't think some of the stuff's great, because you talk about that sonic throat gargle is awesome.
Love it.
There's so many things I love, and I want that on. I just overall there was 2 months. I feel that if this series, if the Last Jedi was done in this style, Luke would have showed up on Crate and then just huffed and puffed and blew over the First Order. And I'm being that's very general. So some of the moments ringed a little hollow to me now that they probably didn't then. That's all I'm saying. And I don't necessarily hold the series at fault, the creators and this Emmy award-winning series. Again, I want to point out, it's just a different time, and we weren't analyzing stuff. And you mentioned the Mace attack moment, and there's just a lot of Jedi press an X button moments that I think land different for me in 2021 than they did in 2005, which is completely fine. Both stand on their own if you want. So that's the only thing I'll start, and then we can dig into the particulars of that if we want to down the line.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you mean. I think for me, it feels like this is just like if Star Wars is a story, a legend, and you sometimes hear different parts of the story are told by, passed down by a different tradition or whatever. Like this is this heightened version of the Jedi where they're even more powerful, right? And there's definitely things to be enjoyed in that, but then there's things to question how quickly they're just running out going, we can solve this with force. Yeah.
That's all.
For me, the attack was just like, wow, that really pinged. It was really powerful to hear him just scream it, right? And it's what they're doing. They're leading armies, they're leading charges, but just hearing that specific word screamed, and to me, it felt like it wasn't. It was a thing that I didn't even question. I wrote down because. Was it intended? Was it not thought of, or is it just like, yeah, they're fighting, so he'd yell attack? What's the deal? Or was it intended as like, yeah, this is a criticism of this isn't the way to use the Force. It doesn't get us where we want to be.
Yeah. No, I can't wait to dive into more. Yeah, I like a lot of the moments, like some of the Yoda stuff. It's like when he's crashing ships together. The sound design and everything about it is solid, but I wanted to see it affect him more. I wanted to be like, whew, because later on we're like, oh, that lifting an X-wing out of a swamp took everything out of him. That's all. And again, it's not even a criticism. It's just it kept standing out to me. Where your guy, the Ithorian there, why am I not remembering his name?
Roran Korob.
Who was a fan voted Jedi, right?
Yeah.
You felt that he was like, oh God, that 4 lungs takes everything, and that's all. And it's not even I don't think it's a nitpick for me. It's just like it's a different way of looking. And remember at the time, because you hear prequels is the Jedi at the height of their powers, which they are. So all of his tracks, it's not out of left field for me. It's just I think during this era they are slowly losing themselves, which you can argue there is moments where they are losing themselves and maybe not aware of it, and Mace might be one of those moments. I think we're going to discuss that. So that's all.
Yeah, totally understandable. To have a very specific relationship with that, because it is very different. More Mace super force punches in this episode.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll talk about this when we get to the comedy. The sultry music for 3PO's robe reveal.
Yeah.
There's so much in that I liked. There's a lot in here that's really trying to show the progression of time, right? So I like that idea of he got his gold plating, so he's showing it off. I even like the idea that he needed it to look good working for a senator and was afraid to show it off in the lower levels, because both those things are like interesting to hear classism explicitly acknowledged in Star Wars. Of
right,
you need to look fancy to work for a politician, and like this idea that if the people on these desperate poor people on this level see my plating, they'll rip it off me. Like there's really interesting, very stark classism going on there, but then it's all distracted by sexy disrobing music.
Yeah. Wasn't my favorite either, but everything. Yeah. Because I struggle with it. Attack the Clones, and again, we're coming out of that era. But I do enjoy 3PO out of place, or 3PO sticking to protocol when he shouldn't, and the comedy of character creates. But that was but look, I also I gotta tell you, I like kind of the record scratch in Attack of the Clones, which is a very kind of outside the box. Anakin's making some moves, and the music literally scratches to a halt almost. So this had the vibes, but one worked better for me than the other.
Yeah. Love the robe reveal. Not sure about the sultry music joke. Two other things for me, and then we should move on. I love that there's this quick beat with Padme during the attack, but I really wish that there had been more room to show her actions during the Battle of Coruscant.
Yeah. Totally.
So it's great to know that she's there. Great to know that she wants to help people. We'll talk more about that beat because there's some stuff I love about it. But yeah, just wanted more Padme. Yeah, and the last thing for me, I don't have a lot to say about it because I'm not an expert on it. I'm not the one to talk about it. It is just something that I am very aware of when I see it. We're going to talk, of course, a lot about the Nelvin and
Yeah.
everything they mean, and I love them. There's this thing for me where Star Wars has borrowed from all sorts of different cultures, right?
Yeah.
There's something about the Nelvin where their imagery doesn't feel like it's inspired by lots of native imagery. Like Enfys Nest is clearly inspired by lots of native and indigenous imagery, and the Nelvin just it explicitly is native imagery,
Yes.
And I think there's a part of me that I wonder about all the questions of that, which I don't feel super like the right person to talk about that. So I'm going to acknowledge that question and then I'm going to leave it alone. But the other part of it for me is it takes me out of the Star Wars-ness just a little bit because it's not inspired by and reinterpreted. It's just to my eye, this thing from Earth plucked in.
Yes. Yeah, and to try to handle with as delicate gloves as we can. Yeah, I think if this whole sequence was redone or done now, it'd probably be a little better, a little more robust, a little more inspired as opposed to just taken. I think it's fair. It stuck out to me as well, and I'm not even saying that in a super negative way, but just like you kind of go, oh yeah, that is right. I forgot it was just this. Yeah.
Yeah. And that stuff is always up for debate. I do not want to compare the two because I think one is a super important large cultural discussion, but there is also that part of me where like I know some people don't like Dex's Diner because they feel like that's a 50s diner.
Yes.
And I think this is more important because it's more culturally sensitive and more culturally important discussion, but has a little bit of that similar effect for me of that isn't reinterpreted. It's just there.
It's just, no, I mean, 100%.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll leave that alone for now. I wanted to be honest about that because I love everything else that's going on with the storytelling of the Nelvin, which we were going to get into, I'm sure now, as we go into talking about big picture ideas or themes. For you, what was at stake in this story?
I wrote this. I must have been watching some Big Lebowski recently in my brain. Like, choices, man. It's an important. It's become Ken. You repeat it over and over because it moves me and inspires me on time. Our choices that shape our destiny, and I loved seeing it here. I loved Obi-Wan literally saying it because I don't remember that. And it's not like some new revelation to me, but it's just, as you grow up and change in life or, things start to jump out at you more at different points in your career as a Star Wars fan that you listening and us talking have. And this one moves me and inspires me a lot more than it did back then. And I just love seeing that big theme because we know Anakin's he's going to make some choices very soon. So there's that one there. And then the sub one, then I'll hand it all over to you here, is this idea of there's something there with the Nelvin too of just at the end where they talk about how they're going to be going forward, right? They're kind of changed, right? And I think it's Obi-Wan says accepting yourself is how you can kind of claim your own life. I may have written that down wrong. And I jumped to Return of the Jedi with Darth Vader maybe needing to accept who he had become at that moment to go forward. And the Nelvin aren't evil Sith lords that have terrorized the galaxy for 20 years. I'm just saying, I that one rang out as a little bit of a thesis statement for the life and times of Vader. At the end, how do you reclaim your own life? You might need to accept who you are right now in order to move forward. And I thought that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think that it has a lot to do with kind of the Star Wars theme of, letting go of your past. You are responsible for your mistakes, but even if you made 99 mistakes, the next choice can be the better one.
Yes. Yeah.
And almost like kind of internalizing that. And again, you're right. Vader's made mistakes. The Nelvins have had something done to them.
Yeah.
But they could internalize that, right? What's been done to them externally, they could allow them that to be, to define everything about them, or they can choose going forward who they want to be.
Yeah, and just and
After
for,
this
for me,
tragedy.
yeah, in that moment where Anakin is literally looking at these great warriors who were, in shape, much like him. I mean, topless Anakin running around here, and just see where they've come back, and will their tribe and families accept all this, and to have Anakin kind of be like, huh, well, how do you do that? And it was poignant to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to dive into some serious stuff, but I want to just take a quick sidebar to say, if you like Topless Jedi, the 2D Clone Wars is for you, right? You got Kit Fisto, you got Kiadi-Mundi half topless, you got Anakin running around shirtless for a ton of this. This is just a bounty of Topless Jedi.
Yeah.
On a more serious note, to me, there are kind of two big themes, and I absolutely agree with yours. But I feel like the biggest one is this idea of facing your fear, but in particular, not like, oh, this is something that's hard for me to do. This is something I'm kind of scared of. But that particular idea of facing yourself and what about you scares you,
Yes.
It's attacked from a couple different angles. Obviously, it's mostly Anakin, but I think it's also supported by that training scene of Dooku and Grievous. I think it's cool to see Dooku and Grievous training. That's just awesome. But I love the lesson that Dooku is teaching Grievous in particular. He says some things about that. About using fear and intimidation, but in particular, the Dooku quote I wrote down is, "You must break them before you engage them."
Right.
And Dooku knows the truth of, like, Grievous, you have 4 lightsabers and you're half robotic, so you can actually move faster than them and all these things, and you're stronger and faster and all these things. But Dooku knows, like, yeah, but they have the Force, and they can beat you unless they're terrified, unless you get in their heads the second your shadow falls over them on the battlefield, and they start thinking, I can't do it, I'm not strong enough. Then you've already killed them. Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
No, I mean, again, Dooku, no matter what version of Dooku, there's a lot to that character to mind.
Yeah.
To listen to.
Yeah. And then I think just for me, like, the main thing was, framed at the beginning and follows through all the way through the end of the Jedi test of spirit. I love the canon of hearing, at least in this version, the what are the Jedi tests for? And the test of spirit, to truly face yourself, in that Anakin skips it.
Yeah.
And then it feels like, I think it does, the show does such a great job of showing that you can't skip that. We see him literally physically looking in mirrors, seeing himself in 3PO, even when it's a joke moment. There's this constant little reminder of, like, Anakin, you don't want to look at yourself, but you can't get away from it.
I'm chuckling a little bit because I probably were both going to mention in the comedy, but even Pill going facing the mirror.
Yes, that's my first thing.
Yeah,
that I wrote down. Facing the mirror.
It's Saturday morning cartoon. But yeah, no, you're so right, and that does pop up all through it.
Yeah, and then just to talk through, as some of those beats, I think that this season, whatever the noun for this story, the volume, does such a great job of not just having fun with the differences between Obi-Wan and Anakin, but showing when they really matter. Of Anakin's rushing to fight, the way he rushes to kill that creature before he understands what's going on, and, like, that's a part of his problem. That's a part of what he's not willing to face, is his instinct to attack, and then when he has that, when he becomes the Nelvin champion and has that great vision, I love, and this is one of the things that stuck out to me from back in the day, that he's seeing the vision of what's happening and or could happen to the Nelvin. And I think, to me, the big thing is he doesn't fully recognize that that's him, right?
Right.
That the reason he's even on this quest is because Obi-Wan has encouraged the Nelvins to interpret his mechanical hand as, the ghost hand.
Yeah.
And then when he's having the vision, and that great animated, the organic and the mechanical and the squiggles, the path before him is presented pretty literally, right? It's the dark side is represented by the mechanical, the machinery of war, And at first it looks like it's a traumatizing thing that has happened to this Nelvin figure, that it's gotten this, mechanical arm of war. But then it makes the figure feel powerful.
Yeah.
Uses the power to protect some of the people he loves, and then just quickly turns into an obsession with his own power and violence. And then Anakin sees Vader. And I love that it is literal, because it's what's happening to the Nelvins, and it's what could happen to Anakin, and it's what he is still not willing to look at, even as it's literally being shown to him in this vision.
Yes. So yes, I call this the false victory of power.
Yeah, tell me your thoughts on that.
In that vision, and there's something that was kind of similar to a little bit of the Rey stuff, meaning Rey was afraid of the power within, right, and what she would do to those around her, and Anakin doesn't necessarily pick up on that, but he grows in power, and I wrote that with each victory in this vision, but maybe in his life, in this version, he's doing quote unquote good with this power, right? Everything about this vision is inspiring him to go do something good for these folks. But with each kind of victory, it's a little bit of a false victory, because it's kind of hiding the fact that he's losing himself again. Because what you're saying, if just he's not looking at it, and even maybe there's people around him that are trying to point it out, they're not doing it. I'll make a vague, quick, don't want to have the discussion too much of season 8 of Game of Thrones, but I believe, to me, in my heart, and I've been studying a lot lately about this, is a little bit of the lesson of Daenerys Targaryen, but also about how the world treats her, what the world treats, that world treats a woman of power and everything. And along the way, you cheer what is justified, but it hides this darkness that's growing. And if you don't look at it, or you don't have people around you to look at it, maybe it could lead to that. That's all I'll say on that, because it's not the podcast. But I'm saying, in this particular vision, that's what's happening, because everything that vision's doing is it's seeming it's good, but it's this power. It's power, and this power lets you do this. And we know Palpatine's got some theories on unlimited power. So, anyways, that's where I went with that, and I love that. I think it's big Star Wars theme.
Yeah, and we can do an episode of ForceCenter that's just a season 8 of Game of Thrones if you want. I'm happy to do that at some point. But I know
I can't.
It's too big. Yeah, and I like the way that it plays out, because then it raises this question of, we can see that vision and we can go, oh, wow, he's seen the possibility of Vader, and here are the steps. It is almost, Yoda's fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, that he gets to see play out. And then how is he going to handle that? He's had this test of spirit. He has seen himself. Is he going to learn from it?
Yeah.
And then what we see him do is see the horror of the Nelvins, possibly relate to the horror of the Nelvins, absolutely act like a selfless hero, I think, of
totally.
He's at his best self, where he's saying, like, I want to stop you, and I won't fight you, but I'll defend myself. And, the other Nelvin shows him, break this part of the machinery and it'll free them. And he frees them. And then they ask him, like, destroy the machinery enslaving us, right? And
right.
He goes through immense physical pain. He shatters, his mechanical hand, and you think, he shattered the hand that in this storytelling context is a symbol of the dark side, a symbol of war. And then in classic Anakin fashion, he doesn't stop there. He needs somebody else to pay for his pain, and just slaughters the Techno Union people.
Right.
And that haunting moment where the Nelvins are looking at him, and you're like, are they gonna think, wow, that's too far? But no, they cheer him,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives us this great answer where, like, oh, he saw the danger, and he said, I don't care.
Yeah.
I need what I want is to kind of, and to me, it feels like he's using power to try to fix things always. He thinks power can fix things,
Yeah.
The Nelvins went through pain, and he went through pain, and he lashes out in anger, but that doesn't fix anything. And then he goes home with the Nelvins and sees a different version of this, right? Where they don't march off to war. They accept trauma and try to rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that was not the choice that he made.
Not so much.
Yeah. Any other thoughts for you on the idea of Anakin having to face this Jedi test of spirit and how much he succeeded or failed?
The final thing I love, it's just it's kind of reflecting some of the larger stuff in Star Wars, but I call it, it's the prophecy of the chosen one inside a prophecy of a chosen one. And I love, and you mentioned it. I'd love to know what you think of that moment of when Obi-Wan's kind of like, oh wait, we got the golden ticket right here. His hand, look, his hand. It's him.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just take it as is totally Obi-Wan being both kind of a pragmatist of we need to figure out what's going on here. Mm-hmm. We need to make things right with this community that we disrupted.
Yeah.
But also just totally Obi-Wan Kenobi point of view, and the kind of guy who wants to go have a drink with Dexter, maybe at the diner, maybe not, and discuss and say, do you think he actually was always the person who the Nelvin needed, or did it just happen to match? And which is it? Depends on your point of view.
Many things depend on your point of view, Obi-Wan. No, yeah.
It just seems like a very Kenobi moment. It is both very pragmatic and open to interpretation.
Hey, it's a thing. It's a thing with that guy.
Very, very Kenobi. But I do like how he comes off as calm and wise, and there's no competition. There's no Anakin, you're too young, I should go. There's really that, like, this seems like a moment that was meant for you, Anakin, and I am going to sit back as your mentor and let you go off and do this thing that practically needs to be done and probably is going to test you.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, it's really great, really great. Another just kind of idea for me that I really liked is I felt like there was a very conscious idea of the missing father, the missing male presence, the sort of missing masculinity, that this story starts off with the vision of, Yoda having this vision of Qui-Gon wasn't here to take him to places, and seeing that the Dagobah cave of he's not going to have the same kind of spirit test because Qui-Gon isn't here. And then an explicit conversation between Obi-Wan and Anakin about the pain of Qui-Gon's wisdom being missing and how Obi-Wan tried to pass it on, but did he do as good a job? We get that beat where Obi-Wan is anxious to not be a master anymore, but be a brother, which is just a part of their relationship. I love that Anakin kind of wants Obi-Wan to be a father figure, and Obi-Wan's always like, master, but then as soon as possible, I just want to be your buddy.
Yeah.
And I love the way like we're not going to be master and apprentice anymore. We're going to be brothers. And Obi-Wan seems like happy about it, and it feels like Anakin's crying out for like, I need a parent figure.
Need a parent. We're gonna. And
Obi-Wan's like, I'm not checking in on you anymore. I'm not gonna check if you're done your homework. Now we're gonna go to concerts and have some brewskis. That's our relationship now.
Yeah.
And then it is I feel like it is kind of standard Star Wars storytelling for this era, but there's a little bit of a spotlight put on Anakin separating from Padme, and we know their future children and the pain of Anakin not being there. And then the whole story with the Nelvins is that all of the fathers and the husbands and the males have been taken away, right?
Yeah.
And then even on top of that, you have the big action of the Jedi is that they are desperately defending this sort of ultimate father figure of Palpatine, of the leader of the Republic, the galaxy's daddy that is secretly corrupt and awful. But it is almost everything that's happening is about pain from a missing figure or missing figures in Nelvin's circumstance, or this desperate need to defend this parental father figure in Palpatine.
There's a therapy session right there, right? And the father issues, yeah.
No. Yeah, no, I mean, but it's kind of like, it was starting when it was with Qui-Gon. It's like, ooh, this is on my mind because of that whole Filoni thing, and then it's like, no, this is really explicitly here.
Yeah, no, it's all the way through. Agree. Yeah, great point. I love the Kenobi. What you're saying. I've had some friends who I'm like, you talk like that with your parents? That doesn't seem right. You should have a parent, not a buddy.
Yeah, but that's what happens. Sometimes the old buddy transition. Yeah. And then I do think it was a little bit I wanted to note how much of the words that Anakin is given on this quest to find where he needs to go is all about, the pain of the mother.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Mother Nature and the maternal idea. So a lot of this is very paternal, but there is some maternal as well. And I also just choose to see it as about being parental, not just male. Even though it is pretty explicitly male in the storytelling, I choose to think about it of what happens when we lose these figures that we rely on as mentors and parents.
Exactly.
So we've already talked a lot about big ideas and themes. Were there any specific ideas to larger Star Wars that you wanted to discuss?
I want to discuss the idea of traditions, and I think this like in a lot of sometimes Star Wars is like, here's our thoughts, and other times it's like, hey, why don't you meditate on this? And this was one for me. I was meditating on of just do you grow past them? Is it important to grow past them? Do you make the traditions grow with you? And the wars, we know just from 3D Clone Wars and just any Star Wars in this era, the war has forced the Jedi to consider forgoing the trials to make more knights because they need that. It's almost a resource problem, and that sometimes it makes sense with Anakin. Obi-Wan's very much like, hey, he's ready, man. Let's make more knights. Promote. It's a field promotion. Get going. And a lot of this idea of no, we can't. Oppo Rensisis with a great voice. Our traditions. That's not how he sounds. But meanwhile, like to me, like Anakin is butting up this against these traditions, which is probably a little bit what Obi-Wan's talking about there, and they're holding him back and they're keeping him from Padme. And in this series, they don't get the chance to explore everything around Anakin. So I'm not saying it's different than the other ones or one or the other. In this series, to me, there's a little bit of more focus of, it's less about Anakin's fear of losing Padme, his mom, all those kind of things. And it's more about his full potential being blocked in his eyes and how these traditions are kind of blocking him from that stuff. And again, you can go different directions with it for me. And I just thought that was a little bit tied into Lucas and these organizations or these institutions that might falter because of they're not growing or they're not adapting or they're not, but then maybe they lose themselves by adapting too much or those kind of questions.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I know I'm obsessive about this organic versus mechanical, but I kind of see it that way as tradition can become a form of mechanization, right? That you kind of feel trapped by. And I think that is absolutely there. It's told in a fun way, but when, Kenobi and Anakin are stuck on the rain planet, and it's kind of presented as comedy of Kenobi being like, no, we're doing the siege the way we're supposed to, and it's going to take this many months. And Anakin's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it my way, and that can be great and flowing and creative and organic. Or it can be dangerous when you totally leave tradition behind, like Anakin does when he slaughters the Techno Union people. Yeah. To me, I just so much of this was about that organic and the mechanical. The what's going on within Nelvin warriors. There's so much. It's so explicit that they are, represented as agrarian, organic, traditional. And then infected by rigid, dark mechanization and all the images of the merciless droid armies marching. I even saw a little bit of the organic versus mechanical theme when we learned that Yoda's got his Kaibuck on Coruscant.
Yes.
He's like, and I was wondering, does he just like not like air speeders, air cars? Does he use the Kaibuck to go to meetings? I don't know what's going on there.
I love the
anything else for you?
No, that's some big stuff. We're taking some big swings here, but and the nice thing is, they're present in this series. This is why I really have enjoyed revisiting this series, even if not everything connects with me like it used to.
Yeah, and we'll go full circle on the big themes. I'll really agree with you that I think such a great, strong theme for this story was the idea of destiny will come for you. The real explicit idea of the Jedi let Anakin skip the trial of spirit, but he is going to face it one way or another, and Obi-Wan understanding that. There's a Grievous line when the Jedi escape about, you're just putting off the inevitable. The Anakin literally being marked by prophecy of like, he's always going to have this responsibility of some people thinking he's the chosen one, whatever that means. And if he's not really worrying about it or thinking about it, well, he ends up in a situation where a different culture thinks he's a chosen one and literally physically marks his body with a prophecy, the same way he's spiritually marked by this chosen one prophecy that he can never get away from. It is a really great just story of there are things in life that we have to deal with that we can avoid, but we cannot avoid them forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how do you think this series affected the 3D Clone Wars? We talked about this last time when we were talking Volume 1. How do you see the evolution of 3D Clone Wars here in Volume 2 of 2D Clone Wars?
I just keep going back to the idea that it seems to me, and I, again, almost intentionally do not know this whole story. Maybe I'll look up if anything's out there after this. I kind of wanted to fly blind through these two discussions. You just can't help but think this might have inspired the bigger concepts that they wanted to pursue in the 3D Clone Wars, and to have more time and have a different way to do it. I'm a little fascinated by that, and I'm not suggesting George or Filoni hacked this stuff. But rather thought there's some solid stuff here, but let's go bigger, let's go bolder, let's take our time with this, and let's, obviously George has some strong opinions about Jedi and Anakin and everything, and that's why I see some of it. Like I look at the stuff here with Anakin, and I see it in the Mortis arc. It's some of the same beats are there, the visions and everything, and literally down to seeing the face of the Mask of Vader, like, and I don't take that. And some people, especially at the time, again, even I had that back in 2008 or 9, or like, I like the first one better, which is a fair choice and a legitimate choice to have, by the way. But yeah, I can't help but look at this, particularly the second volume, and go, there's so much there. We just don't have the time. And I could definitely see George going, let's take the time.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple things just jumped out to me as I think Volume 2 sort of marries the adventure pulp fun with the heart and the longer narrative. So this one just feels a lot closer to 3D Clone Wars, and whether that's just, hey, it's longer episodes. The first volume, as we're calling it, was meant to be a little bite-sized episodes. But this one just feels a little bit more like the 3D Clone Wars to me. And then just explicitly, this one starts with the resolution of the cliffhanger early in the war of Ki-Adi-Mundi and the other Jedi escaping General Grievous. And then we get the appointment of Anakin to being a Jedi. And then we have the montage of Anakin fighting everywhere. And I can see just like somebody pausing and going, there's a whole show there.
Yeah.
That montage, that's a show.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I was very, very happy to see that. All right. With that, we are going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to discuss a lot of the fun moments, the action, and apparently a very long list of comedy in just a moment.
Hey, ForceCenter friends, make sure you're keeping up to date on all the great content from Jennifer Landa. Whether it's YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, you whippersnappers, ForceCenter's own Jennifer Landa continues to bring you fun, informative, and insightful laughs and moments.
Also, Jennifer brings her experience and perspective as a Star Wars-loving mother to her DIY projects, blogs, and more, so be sure to head on over to JennyLanda.com, that's JENILANDA.com, for articles like how to make your own Darth Maul sneakers or 10 unique Star Wars baby gift ideas.
Follow Jen on Twitter and Instagram at Jennifer Landa, and on TikTok as Jennifer Landa 1138.
And we are back to finish our discussion of Volume 2 of the 2D Clone Wars. Ken, as we know, this is Legends, it's vintage, it's non-canonical. Is there anything in this that you wish was firmly in the canon?
Yes, and I think as always, I think we preface this a little bit. Some of the stuff may pop up, and maybe I overlooked it or I don't know, and I apologize if I say something and someone's like, it's in this episode of Clone Wars, and maybe we haven't got there yet and I don't remember. So
yeah,
I'll say that there. Save your tweets. I would like some version of the Qui-Gon and Little Annie vision. I would love some version of that somewhere, like this particular one. It's pretty darn good. It's also a great Liam Neeson, by the way, great design. I really like that. I kind of was moved by seeing that on the screen, and kind of forgot that was there. So I'd like that kind of version.
Yeah, and I totally forgot that it was Yoda's vision, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah, no, it's connected to that.
Yeah.
So
And do you like seeing the Dagobah tree?
yeah, I mean it's very direct and yeah, it's connecting it to Yoda and you know only what you take in there. It's like I love that Yoda's like, let me write that down. That's a good note to give. And we love that scene and we love that line. You and I have talked about that line a lot.
Yeah.
But no, it all works for me. It all kind of connected, and it was heartbreaking and touching all at the same time.
Yeah, it showed, I think, that in a great way of, the Jedi's, here comes our favorite word, hubris.
Mm-hmm.
In the Phantom Menace, like Yoda and Mace are not wrong. Anakin has a lot of fear, and that is dangerous. But they choose to, deal with that by just going, yeah, no, you're too dangerous, kid. And Yoda having this vision of, oh, look at the kind, gentle way that Qui-Gon deals with that exact truth, that exact problem.
Yeah.
Of gently saying, it's okay, everybody's afraid, but you got to go face it. So go play in the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely yet another great shocked moment from Yoda, who has a lot of great shocked looks throughout the Clone Wars. For me, in terms of things I wish were firmly canon, that great Ithorian Jedi, Roaring Korob,
Yeah.
he has been mentioned in a 2018 guidebook called Star Wars Lightsabers by Pablo Hidalgo. So he's been mentioned, so we can cling to that being canon. But I would love for this character to pop up fully in storytelling. It's really, really one of my highlights, both just design and the way that the character behaves in this show is great. And I don't know where Mace's chest crush of Grievous sits in canon. Obviously, it doesn't happen there timeline wise because he's hacking all through the the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But I do like that. I've always liked that, and there's a power to it of Mace not being able to stop him, but grabbing him for a second.
Yeah.
So I really like that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Couple for me. I'll toss in. We'll toss the ball back and forth here. I guess the Padawan braid being sliced off again. Maybe something else. We maybe even seen it. I absolutely loved it. That Yoda's like, yoink, your hair's gone. Grow it out like you want.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I love that, and that's definitely a big canon thing of hearing those words that are canon of what is said in the knighting process of and I think the story here that Anakin is kind of rush knighted and then does have to pass this or take this test of spirit and kind of fails it, but nobody really knows. That's great. And since this isn't canon, you can pull specific characters, you can pull specific moments. Dirge can return and is going to return.
Right.
I almost wish that we would just tell a new story of Anakin's passing into being a knight.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Because we're at a point where there is direct contradictions, it's particularly the end of this with what's going on with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Where are they when they head back to Coruscant, and why? Now there's just a direct contradiction, right?
Totally. Yeah. We've wiped the playing board a little bit here.
Yeah. So I would love that. That's it for me. Anything else for you?
A couple of little moments. Padme gifting Anakin R2, different versions of it. I think I had overlooked even this moment because it suggests what Phantom Menace would suggest that R2 was Padme's, it was hers, and you lose sight of that a little bit. At least I do as a fan, and the E.K. Johnston novels, especially the first one, Queen Shadow, really kind of you remember oh yeah, that is actually kind of how R2 even got the course, and that's right. And I loved it. I also love the moment. I want that to be a GIF of the holographic image of Padme going, huh? I'd love to use it on Twitter to reply when someone's like, you see this? Pay attention. I'd love to use that. That one. And then it's bigger, almost too much talk here. The Dooku training Grievous thing, we can break into that. We know that's the case. That's mentioned so many times. We have seen
Grievous has mentioned it a couple times.
I mean, he brags about it, right? Dooku training. I think it's very interesting. And I mentioned earlier, Dooku kind of mentions, the hey, you retreat when you need to type of thing. And I'm joking about that a little bit, but just everything in there, you already touched upon it wonderfully. Just to have that somewhere, someplace to actually really see it. I like that. And then the final one, the battle, of course, and the Mace squishing Grievous there. How Palpatine got captured, Shaak Ti's last stand, and what happens with her, and deleted scenes, not deleted scenes, all those kind of things. Even if it's elsewhere, and we get a lot of stuff in season 7. Just even right now, from my position of sitting here with you weekly doing Star Wars things, there's a fog over what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Some might be legend, some's canon. It gets confusing, and sometimes that's part of the fun. I wouldn't mind just knowing a little bit clearer, just because I love it. It's great stuff, and I want to know.
Yeah, it's such a big moment of the war falling apart, right? The Jedi thinking like, okay, we can contain this and we can end it quickly. No, it keeps dragging out. It's built to the point where there's an invasion of the center of the Republic. You kind of want to hear that story from a lot of the different Jedi and people on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I wanted to say I love the R2 thing. You're totally right. I always remember that from the novelization of Revenge of the Sith. That
Yes.
that the wedding presents between Padme and Anakin were the exchange of droids of you could use R2 and you could use 3PO, so let's swap our ownership. But this moment here was great. Let's talk action moments. Did you have some favorite action moments? I know I certainly did.
Well, good. I at one point stopped writing a lot of them down, which again speaks a little bit to me just not connecting with the action as much because of Jedi's pressing X. Does not mean I don't love them though. I want to be clear, but I in the very beginning, the lat taking out a battle droid's head, flies low altitude attack transport, right, or armored transport.
Attack.
And then
or assault. Excuse me. I mean, yeah.
You and I are a little rusty. We're not competing for belts these days. And then in that sequence, there is the lat versus Grievous, and there's a great shot. And I'm like, I'd hang that on a wall. It looks great.
Yeah. And there's even this great energy that it is, the Republic gunship, the lat with the ferocious face painted on it. So it's the two ferocious monstrosities staring each other down. That is a beautiful shot.
And it's so good. There's Tartakovsky wanted to connect a little band of brothers. You could even make like a Vietnam picture. Like you could almost hear Jimi Hendrix playing in the background. The whole sequence.
Yes. Yeah. That one was absolutely great. You got some more?
There is I think I did look up his name and I forgot to write it down. There was a one, or maybe it wasn't listed. Help me if I'm wrong. The one clone in red, the kind of commander holding off all caps, all the droids.
Fordo, I believe is his name.
Is that Fordo? Just boom, 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 boom. But I was expecting him to die, but he's like, oh no, he doesn't. He's good. He holds them. He holds off all the droids.
Good job. I love that. The whole Grievous section. I like the montage of Anakin rescuing all the Jedi to really drive home. Like, yeah, no, he really does have great skills. But in particular, there's because I think this was a little bit wilder. So I like that of the Jedi get captured in separatist bubbles. And Anakin, waves his hand and the separatist bubbles pop. That is just wild and weird. So I like that. I think I enjoyed the Battle of Coruscant in Mace and Yoda in particular going to town a little bit more than you did. Partially because I think once I just let myself say, this is a little bit, heightened compared to the level of force use that we see other places, that I can just let myself enjoy that. A beat I enjoyed in particular, because it felt a little bit more true to the spirit of Yoda to me, was Yoda's move that I thought of as the back it up and pack it up force move, where those Trade Federation ships are opening up and the tanks are rolling out. And he's like, no, you roll back in. The doors close. You go back up into the sky and run into the other one. It was just like the biggest, nope. Put it in reverse.
And I got to say, I mean, again, I'm not criticizing these moments. It's sometimes a little bit overall too much, but the sound design, and especially when the two colliding into each other, like a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff. And I loved it's very over the top, but I love the weird image of Mace grabbing the vulture droid's wires and flying it by the wires.
Yes, I have some other notes on that scene too. Good notes, but there's some comedy in that as well. But also, Mace has got skills.
Yep, Mace has really got some skills. I really love the Arc 170. I really like seeing that rear gunner. This is one of my favorite
Totally.
ships, so it's really cool to just see it in all
Mhm.
of its glorious animated action there.
Totally.
I'll kick it back to you for some more action moments. What
Um,
else you got?
I'm trying to remember. I didn't. I trailed off and just took it all in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No. But I love. There is the one moment with Shock T. She's holding off everybody, and like all the Magna Guards like staffs are like coming down on her. She like blocks them, and it's almost like a Danny Kaye dance move from a 50s musical. Like she's like, dang, and push them back. A lot of the Shock T stuff. I really do enjoy Shock T as a Jedi, and we love seeing her in the 3D Clone Wars over on Camino and everything. So I love seeing her getting a little shine.
Yeah, yeah. Just two more for me. When Grievous, when they're trying to keep Palpatine away, and the Jedi get away with Palpatine down the elevator, and Grievous has his attack on the clones. It's just brutal. All of
Mhm.
the slashing and the smashing. It's not explicit in any way, but it is so brutal.
Mhm.
And I think for me that was a moment where it was successful, where it's definitely badassery, but it really tipped into it's so brutal that it felt like not just going like cool action move, but like made you feel the horror of it, made you feel the horror of war and the
Mhm.
horror of a person like Grievous. So I really liked it from
Yeah,
that perspective.
I can get behind that. Yeah.
And then the final one for me is that the entire Jedi battle with the Magna Guards and Grievous in the train station and the
Yeah.
Coruscant metro stop.
Yes.
I really like train stations. I like metro stations, so I like seeing the Star Wars version of that.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that was one of those weird kind of real world things that I enjoyed instead of being taken out by, because it's always different. I liked all the very down to earth train noises.
Yeah.
And kind of sounds you hear about trains approaching and warnings to get off the tracks, but just that it's a place where the animation really shines to make you just feel the utter speed of that train
Yeah.
coming, and the way the Jedi are using it cleverly to break from fights or to lure people into being hit by the trains. But the big thing for me after that huge big fight in the stakes where Shaak Ti's been grievously wounded, no pun intended, by Grievous before,
Mm.
and we know that his approach is to make her afraid.
Mm.
And you're wondering, is Shaak Ti gonna? She has a lot of reason to be afraid. Is she gonna fall to it? And instead, she does that incredibly cool, clever, thoughtful move of using the Force to tie his cape to the train.
Yes. Yes.
It just gives him the massive yank when the train gets moving.
Yeah.
Love that. That might have been my favorite action beat in the whole thing, is tying the cape to the train.
Well, I mean, again, Shock T got skills.
She's got skills, and she could pay the bills with skills, I'm sure, but we understand that the Jedi get an allowance. Anyway,
They do. Yes.
let's move on then to comedy moments, because we got a lot to cover.
Yes, we do. My first thing, is it comedy? Oppo Rancisis' voice.
He was really fun. It was really fun to hear opinionated Oppo Rancisis.
Yeah. Absolutely. I actually loved it. I think you've made me love Oppo Rancisis even more just over the years. I know you love that character, and
He's a glorious weirdo.
yeah, it is indeed. So from that one, I go to our buddy Evan Peel.
Yeah, go for it. Let's talk about Even Peel.
I mean, he's a great character, and I love the stuff in the Clone Wars, and I just have ever since was a Phantom Menace the first time we see him really in focus, right? Standing up there. So you're always wondering about that guy, and just that line again. It felt like a Saturday morning sitting down watching a superhero cartoon, and just that facing the mirror. It's just it's wonderful. It might be one of my new favorite Star Wars background quotes, though it's front and center.
Yeah, no, it is the absolute one of the main themes of this story, and Even Peel looks like he'd have a voice like that, but they turned it up to 11, right?
Yes.
And it's the way he's just throwing it in as an aside. It's like his voice is too gravelly for a full speech of like Oppo is really making the point, and then he's just got to throw it in, facing the mirror.
Well, especially it's one of those things where in that room, everyone there knows. So you almost want to go, yes, we know. Yes, we know facing that. Yes, we get it. Thank you, sir. But it's just for us. It's great.
Yeah, I took so many screenshots of just the establishing shot of the entire Jedi Council.
Yeah.
I love that room. I love seeing them. The artwork is so great and so stylized, but it is so traditional animation. When I took a screenshot of the Jedi Council, I pictured a version where they all got up and they did like the famous Peanuts dance together in that room.
Yeah. Feet just kind of shuffling.
Yep.
Back and forth head bobs.
Yep. Do the dance. Face the mirror.
Oh, pig pad, dance with us.
Great stuff. What else do you have on your comedy moments?
Now I'm picturing Jedi Schroeder on the piano. That's great. I have all these episodes, and there's going to be even some more examples in the comedy thing. Have some weird editing pacing, and I mean in a good way. Like I love the comedy of quiet, or the comedy of anticipation, or that downbeat before the joke or before the bit. And sometimes you can play it too long, and there were some moments where I'm like, interesting decisions, but I really love them. And they spent a lot of time on the weird parade of Coruscant weirdos as Anakin goes to meet Padme.
Yes,
it was wonderful. And it's just like shot of him, shot of him, shot of them, shot of her, shot of what's going like what's and all these weirdos in Coruscant.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting to jump from the Jedi Council discussion to like Anakin among the people, and there's that tension of what is he going to do, and then is somebody following him? But yeah, it's a drawn out sequence, and it has like some great tension in terms of action and comedy. The beat I loved in there is the random alien who's watching Anakin and Padme kiss.
Yes, it's over. And it's all very like New York City-ish. Same with the subway stuff you're talking about too, the train station. So it just all kind of worked for me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is great. One of the real on purpose lines that I thought was a great bit of comedy, perfect for the character, is Obi-Wan's line. Typical. The weather clears as soon as we're leaving.
Yeah.
Grumpy Obi-Wan complaining about the sun shining.
Yeah.
After a long rainy period.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead with some more.
No, I just love the Anakin flipping back to Obi-Wan and going, "You're no Qui-Gon Jinn," and then there's that cut to Obi-Wan going, huh? Loved it.
It was as close as I've ever seen to a Star Wars after school special. Like it felt really like it was going to get into,
you don't love me.
Some issues with adoption, or I don't know what, found family,
on a very special Star Wars: A Clone Wars.
Yeah, but it's really effective, and Obi-Wan seemed very hurt by it.
Yeah, yeah.
Another one for me is, and I took a screenshot of this because there are some moments where it was like, this sums up the character. The brief moment during the Battle of Coruscant where we have Typho saying to Padme, "My lady, we must get you to safety." And Padme just says, "No." That's Padme.
Yes.
And then, she follows it up with like, "No, we should go help other people who are in danger in the city." Meanwhile, the 3PO's panicking in the foreground. But there's like, that's such a great summary of Padme. "My lady, must get you to safety." No. Instead, I would like to do the most dangerous thing possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love that.
Yeah. And this was one that I really enjoyed that was definitely there if you don't have the subtitles on, but was made even better with the subtitles. There's that image of Palpatine sitting down with some tea, sipping tea, looking at the chaos that he has instigated, which by itself is a great image. But if you have the subtitles on, you're watching him sipping tea, and the subtitles say "distant gunfire, explosions." And the image of him just sitting there sipping tea, like, yep, chaos.
It's right. It's right up there for me with Cersei Lannister season 6 and that wine sip of spite. I called this the tea sip of confidence, or perhaps overconfidence, with Palpatine. It was really effective. I love it.
Yeah. Incredibly good. What are some other comedy moments for you?
So there's some good Palpatine stuff. There's some odd editing beats, and again, and odd in the way I like it, of just when they're like, Grievous is going to show up to kidnap Palpatine, but he's doing the whole like, what? There's nothing wrong. Look out the window. There's nothing. What are you talking about? There's nothing there. Beat. beat. Oh, Grievous! It's just really funny. And then after Roran Korab does the force throat shockwave and the joke, and Shakti's got to explain it. He has 4 lungs. It's pretty loud, and Palpatine's just like, so I heard. He's a sassy old man in that robe, isn't he?
Yeah, it is very deadpan. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2 Roran Korab moments of just the scream is amazing, and just great versatile sort of like a force scream. Cool.
Yep.
But the heaving afterward is hilarious. And earlier, just some great straightforward comedy of hitting the elevator button.
Yeah. There's a lot of the subway and everything, there's a lot of real world office building comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a great contrast of like they're Jedi, they're facing this, horrific advancing monster of Grievous, and they're waiting for an elevator, and heighten that by hitting the elevator button, but also just that great the language of physical comedy translated to animation. That he's still looking forward, nothing on him is moving but his arm, so you get that great contrast between the stillness of the rest of his body and the panic in his arm.
You don't want panic in your arm, kids.
It's very bad for you, panic in the arm.
Yeah.
Last one for me, and I posted about this on Twitter and Instagram, but just across all of the 2D Clone Wars, the number of times that Yoda gets utterly shocked by something, it works in the storytelling. It's heightened, and it's always something truly horrible has happened. But once you add them up, it is just really funny the number of times he just looks utterly startled by something happening through the Force.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. Grace was watching on the couch and kind of reacted to that stuff from a distance. Loved it. For me, I have some. One might spark a little more conversation here, so I'll list off. I'm going to say General Oro Dessine, who is the Separatist general. That's kind of got that. I call it. Like, I'm glad he died because he's a separatist baddie, but like, it's a very sitcom moment, and I kind of like it, where it's just like, we got a shield, we're okay. How many are coming? What? No. Come on, give me the information. It's just weird. It's so out of place.
Yeah, when he's asking how many Jedi are coming.
Yeah.
1,000, 50, 40, 30, 2.
Come on, give me a number. Yeah. I don't know if I ever need to see that moment again, but it was really funny.
But it really did seem like, whether it was a discussion with Lucas himself, Lucasfilm, whether it was the instincts of Tartakovsky, that there's a lot of, great action. There's a lot of deep, dark themes, but there did seem like there was a real shift of like, we really need more moments of whimsy.
Yeah. I'd love to get the whole story, but I think so.
Yeah.
And then quick, so you mentioned the subway terminal scene. It's great in a lot of ways. I love that. It's like we're in a 1970s, gritty New York, crime underworld film. Let's go to the subways and fight it out. Did you know in the background when they're doing the deposit 50 credits joke when they're getting over there? If you pause, there is a poster in the background, and Yoda or a Yoda species is on there giving a thumbs up.
Yep.
What is in my head? That's a child model Grogu.
Yeah, it's absolutely advertising. You're the child doll at Target, right? Yeah, it is. It is one of the things that adds to the great mystery, right? Yaddle shows up in Phantom Menace, and there's a possibility of like, oh, is that just a thing in our world that Yoda's species was, rare because we read it in some books in the back of trading cards, or is it real in the Star Wars galaxy? And this is clearly a time where that's still not Yaddle disappeared, but it's from Attack of the Clones. But that's still not entirely decided, and who knows? Maybe there's some Yoda and Yaddle are the one who became Jedi, but the rest of the species are all advertisers and models.
Yeah, I thought of like Lost in Translation. It's like Bill Murray and Centauri Times there or something. It's just like weird. Like, does he get some money on the side or somebody? Yeah. No,
yeah, it was like that Simpsons episode where Homer is obsessed with how did I become the mascot for this product, and like, does Yoda see this and like, I didn't do that. How did I become the mascot for this product?
I'm not Mr. Sparkle. Yes. And then the final one for me. So you mentioned, so I think there's some cool stuff and some Mace badass stuff with him on the droid, the Vulture droid or whatever there. But the idea that Mace on Coruscant falls a great distance and survives. I'm like, well, okay, well, there's your headcanon for how he could survive in Revenge of the Sith.
I did think of that, of like, oh, he's gonna fall again relatively soon, and it's not gonna work out as well.
Yeah, can't
To be fair, he still had an arm and had not been, shocked with Sith lightning yet, but still, hard not to notice.
Yeah.
The first fall of Mace Windu. Moving on then from comedy moments, unless you have any more.
No, that was plenty for me.
So last time we discussed Volume 1, we talked about any specific designs of ships, planets, weapons, etc. that you really enjoyed. This was obviously full of the great new designs at the time from Revenge of the Sith, but was there anything other than those designs that you really liked?
I mean, I'll highlight again the lat, what I'm calling the super painted lat, and that carries on to 3D Clone Wars, and it's very World War II bomber like, or very but this one really stood out. Just that face, that little, like almost like a shark face on the front. I really liked that. So that worked. And then Mace and Sausage 10 with their very vibrant purple and neon green Jedi starfighters. Mace going, purple's my thing, and Sausage 10 going, I'll take neon green.
Yeah, absolutely great. Like, these are our bubblegum colors and our lightsabers and ships and everything.
Well, that's because, again, the whole genesis of the series is Hasbro needs to sell toys. So it's like, even Anakin's the Azure Angel is more just designed. It's more specific. It's something you're going to see on a shelf. And this one, too, it's like, I want Mace's purple Jedi fighter.
Who wouldn't? Yeah. A couple things that popped out to me. This is in both volumes, but I just wanted to take a moment to really appreciate Palpatine's teeth. It's just one of the design things that they do to show, like, evil is like, his teeth are messed up. It is unpleasant,
We're the dark side. We don't believe in dental work.
Fluoride is the light side. It's weak. I really love the design of the spooky snow forest of the Nelvins planet. Eventually we'll see this a little bit in the forest in Starkiller Base, but it really tapped into not just the sort of spooky forest of fairy tales and in Brothers Grimm and that, but the sort of snowy version of it, where it makes you feel like it's still got that sort of mysterious, dark old forest. Something's not right, but the snow adds this level of kind of cold to it. And then, of course, I have to acknowledge, because I'm a big fan of the animal in real life, I forgot that there's a space squirrel.
There is.
Yeah, and I was very delighted to see the Star Wars space squirrel. Very well designed, very squirrel-like movement.
Yeah, and I do love squirrels too. You'd love this side story, not Star Wars related. Grace walked outside of our back patio really fast, scared a squirrel, and he dropped an orange on her head.
On purpose, or was it just like shock?
Maybe. I don't know. I love squirrels, but I don't know what's going on. Yeah, she walked out and he just was like, "Wah!" He, like, in my mind, bumbled it like a sitcom, and the orange went splat on the top of her head.
Yeah, and then he was asking, how many people? How many people came out there? 150? One?
Yeah, that's good.
Other one for me is in the I believe on Coruscant, there was a different kind of design of a droid. It was kind of like a spider droid, but it was thinner and taller. It was really evocative of War of the Worlds, horrible flying alien machines. It's a great, creepy design. Really liked it. I like that. Any other designs that you enjoyed?
No, I mean, they had some fun, man. Selling toys or not, they had some fun with some designs, and so I do like this.
Yeah. So we're going to talk connections to larger canon. We talk big theme stuff, but we always like to talk other little quotes that pop up, other little details. Did you write any down?
I did. There's a couple. I mean, this one, they stood out a lot. Almost, I'm not going to say to a negative, but I mean, because the 3D Clone Wars, especially the early seasons, as you tracked, has been doing that a lot, of making references to lines. I mean, but there's a ton of lines, only what you take with you from the top, which makes sense. Again, Yoda, marking down the note of, let me pass that on some other day. Kit Fisto describing Anakin as, he's a cunning warrior and a great pilot. Just straight up going to the Obi-Wan thing. Impressive, most impressive, which is during the striptease scene. Then Kenobi, you got there are alternatives to fighting, of course, but also what an incredible smell you've discovered. So we're just pulling all lines from Star Wars and throwing them in here, which I don't have a problem with. It just is funny to see the way they use them.
it was really interesting that in a short span of time, Obi-Wan said there are alternatives to fighting, which is great. That's an Obi-Wan philosophy. It would make sense that he would share that more than once. He says, I've got a bad feeling about this. That's a standard thing that everyone in the galaxy says.
Right.
And in this era of Star Wars, something that just, it was a tradition that it was included. But then also says, what an incredible smell you've discovered. Just quoting a line from a different character in a very different context. And there's a weird instinct to do that, we had the discussion last week of, hey, if Anakin has turns of phrase like all too easy or impressive, most impressive, like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But then this weird thing to kind of like borrow and share lines.
Yeah.
And it does pop up in 3D Clone Wars for like the first season and a half and then mostly goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm okay with it at times. I still love Alden Ehrenreich solo saying, I got a good feeling about that. I still love that. And
it's a great twist.
And it's a great twist, and it's meta, it's outside the story in its own way, but it's fun. But something like the Kit Fisto one, I thought, I was like, that's cool. Like, yeah, he was a cunning warrior and a great pilot, and that's what Obi-Wan told everyone, and that's what he was. So it makes some sense. I like the use of that and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that one I liked, and I really actually liked hearing there are alternatives to fighting. That was great.
Yeah.
The Anakin says Jedi's plural, which was fascinating to me.
Oh yeah.
That is a thing that we as Star Wars fans can sometimes push our real or imaginary glasses up on our nose and go, it's both singular and plural Jedi.
The Last Jedi refers to many Last
Jedi. Obviously we talked about the story of 3PO getting his gold plating, R2 Padme giving R2 to Anakin. I like the braid going. Anakin's Jedi braid going in the box with the Japor snippet. That was nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
The Japor snippet is a simple but powerful image of that connection they made early in life. So I always really like that. There was, of course, a Wilhelm scream at that point in Star Wars, still a tradition of something that needed to be there. Rancisis being Yoda's Padawan, that was fun to hear. I admit I just plain out ran out of time to look that up. I don't know where that stands in modern canon.
Yeah.
I'll look it up sometime. But it was fun. I always like those connections that you never know as you get into a story. Sometimes you'll be surprised about the relationships that are between the Jedi and how that might influence them. There was a classic Star Wars canon discussion that was once again triggered by this. Anakin's arm injury. Cut off below or above the elbow. Ken, are you a below or above the elbow Anakin's arm person?
I think I prefer below, but it's only because I want less pain in my own life. So, yeah.
No, it was consistent with Revenge of the Sith. I am definitely in the... looks like Dooku cuts his arm off above the elbow in Attack of the Clones, but the arm is below the elbow.
Yeah. Yep.
The final thing for me is I really love seeing the Techno Union scientists. Is really interesting to see that kind of experimentation from the Techno Union scientists is going to play into the 3D Clone Wars Season 7 story of Echo. But because it's James Arnold Taylor doing the voice, and because they must have used some of the same technology to manipulate the voice, Techno Union scientist number 2 sounds exactly like Plo Koon.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
And at a moment, like, is he going to rip off a mask and that's Plo Koon?
I'm Plo. It's me, Plo.
It's me, Plo, Anakin. It's me, Plo.
Yeah.
That was really, really fun. What else is on your list? Anything else?
No. There was some. I almost got lost. There's that montage of going to the planets. They don't really go to Cato Nemodia, but this is so strongly tied to Lucino's Labyrinth of Evil, but there's some big contradictions, and that's not the thing. But I just love seeing there, and then it just speaks to a little bit more of Anakin and Obi-Wan going to Cato Nemodia, and then referencing it in Revenge of the Sith, even though it's from a novel that's now Legends. It's just it's all you can pull from Legends, but it's not actually in here, but it got me thinking about that.
Yeah, well, and I do really like that montage of kind of the Separatists marching through the galaxy and causing pain. That great shot of the battle droids in the Ortolan's eyes. That whole sequence is really great. Last thing for me for canon is, I really liked that discussion of the Jedi trial of skill, the trial of flesh, trial of courage, trial of spirit. And it was great to hear this language of the actual ceremony continuing right through from this popping up lots of different places, all the way to that great Disney Plus show where the kids get to become Jedi. I'm spacing the name of the show, Ken.
Jedi Temple Challenge?
Jedi Temple Challenge. Thank you. Too much talking today, but it was fun to hear by the right of the council. You know.
Mm. Yeah. I'm bummed we're not getting a second season of that, by the way. But yes, the right of the council, indeed.
Yeah. So, well, who knows? We'll cross our fingers and hope for more Jedi Temple Challenge because we did enjoy that. Anything else for you for Canon?
No, sir.
All right. We're gonna close out here with a fun question, but before we do, any final big picture thoughts on this volume of Clone Wars, or just the experience of rewatching the whole 2D Clone Wars series?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I can't wait to revisit the Ewok movies and see how they hit me too. No, I'm always just trying to be honest as a Star Wars fan. Like I did love these at the time, even though they were like I didn't fully understand what I was watching. I just took in Star Wars slightly different than I do now, in a way. But I love going back. I love seeing what is there and giving this Emmy award-winning series credit for what they really did do. But I still stand by 3D Clone Wars as being just a better, long form, more oomph into it series. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy this. And it's been fun to pause and revisit.
Yeah, me too. I really, really enjoyed this, and I definitely found myself like watching certain sections and going, "Yeah, I'm gonna want to watch this whole thing from time to time as a Star Wars fans." But there's some times where I'm just gonna be like, "I don't know what I want to watch for lunch. I'll watch Mace on Dantooine, or I'll watch the metro station subway train fight." Because there's so much in here that is, like I said last week, to me, just an absolute celebration of the adventure serial side of Star Wars. It is unapologetically at times. You've invented Jedi Knights with lightsabers who can do almost anything they imagine by reaching out their hand and willing it. That's cool. Right. So let's have as much fun as humanly possible with it. This series really has that. Let's take the fantasy of what a Jedi Knight at full power can be and just absolutely turn it to 11. And I think there are some ideas in the first volume that are really powerful and really poignant. And then I really appreciate that volume 2 really dials into some big Star Wars ideas. The idea of the power of fear and the need to have a trial of spirit, to look at yourself, be honest with yourself. As Obi-Wan says, you're going to see some things that you don't like. That's normal. That's why we do it. It's such a big, important idea. And I know the line that you were referencing earlier that you were highlighting, I wrote down, of Obi-Wan saying, "It is our decisions that shape our destinies." And I just really love this whole series for many reasons, but just having that line come out of Obi-Wan with kind of wisdom and a little bit of sadness and a little bit of worry for Anakin, and saying that line to a troubled Anakin is just like a beautiful little moment of Star Wars, and some great timeless wisdom that you can take out of Star Wars for yourself and for your own life if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff, Obi-Wan. Good job, Obi.
Good job, Obi-Wan. You make some mistakes too. I know, my friend Kenobi. There's some mistakes, but at least he faces the decisions he makes that shapes some destinies. We're going to move on then to our final question here, Ken. If you could see a new episode of this version of Clone Wars, what character, kind of story would you want to see? Last week you pitched a great Battle of Exegol told in this animated style, but after watching this second volume, what jumps into your mind?
Yeah, I'll stick with, kind of within the framework of this question too. I'd love to go into season 6 of 3D Clone Wars and yoga. Well, Yoda does some yoga. Yoda going to Dagobah and all that kind of stuff. This style of the 2D animation, especially with like the Anakin trials and everything, they can get kind of creative with the artwork and the look and the feel, almost like you're watching a dream and you feel it. I would love to see kind of Yoda experiencing all the stuff he did in season 6, the Lost Clone Wars stuff of going to Dagobah and all the Force stuff he's experiencing, Qui-Gon, everything, and that dreamlike, and him fighting himself. Like, that'd be really great in this style.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hadn't thought about it before. You made me think about it with this. With your example is, I would love to see a little 3 minute animated in this style of Luke arrives on Octo, right?
Yeah.
Crashing that X-wing, the Linnae caretaker yelling at him. He goes to burn the tree, can't do it, walks away and sits down in his hut. What a great little 3 minutes.
Yeah, love that. Love that.
Love to see that. The thing that got me excited is I really did enjoy seeing more of Coruscant. I love seeing the Jedi running around. As you've been saying, it makes you think of there are a million stories on Coruscant of what's going on in that battle, and it made me want to see that maybe right then during all that chaos, somebody tries to steal a book from the Jedi archives, and Jocasta Nu, a librarian with a lightsaber's got to run him down during the Battle of Coruscant and take her book back.
Love that. Yes. It's great.
So thanks everyone for listening on this great journey. I think so awesome that we're getting some of this vintage material, and Ken and I will discuss off air about when we're going to try to cover some of the other stuff and how, because it is a bounty of Star Wars storytelling to absorb, and that Droids cartoon coming to Disney Plus soon. Not soon, I guess. Eventually. I don't know when. I don't know. But with that, Ken, do you want to tell people where they can find us?
Love to. You can find us on Twitter at ForceCenter Pod. We're on Instagram, YouTube as well. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. We're available on a lot of different spots: Anchor, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Amazon Music, and now Spotify as well. Well, always Spotify, but a lot of push towards Spotify in the business now. So head over there. And then merch is available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. You can support us directly on Anchor, but also more importantly, maybe at patreon.com/ForceCenter. I say more importantly because from there, so many of our supporters have made our show and our network and our programs better with theme music and logos and all those kind of things. And we thank you for that support. You can follow me at Ken Napzok or go to KenNapzok.com or head over to the GPA.fun and check out what we're doing over there. Absolutely being silly and having some fun with the Good People Association. Joseph.
Yeah, you can find me Twitter and Instagram at Joseph Scrimshaw. You can check out all the shocked faces of Yoda that I'm having a lot of fun posting. And if you're interested in any of my other comedy adventures, my other podcast, Obsessed, comedy albums, all sorts of stuff, you can find all of that on my website at josephscrimshaw.com. But for now, for myself, for Ken, for Even Peel, who wants you to face the mirror, this has been ForceCenter.